Welcome to episode 40. Let's get straight into it. This is some 1-3 over at Park Casino. We're looking at an early position raised to 10. Hijack is called, and I decide to call in position with my ace-9 of clubs. We go 5 ways to a flop, which comes down king 7-7, 2 hearts. Checks to me, could go for a bet here, but I'm just going to check this one back. Just give up 5 ways. Turn's pretty good though. We do turn a flush draw. And now small blind bets out for $15. Big blind calls. Gets to us. Can't go anywhere for that price, so I make the call. Off to a river, which is the deuce of hearts. The front door flush does get in, but small blind still bets for 25. Big blind now calls. And I saw this player twice already in the first orbit just bluff off like this when people were playing passive, and he uses extremely small sizings in those two instances. Big blind can't be strong here. Max he's got is like a king, right? I think this is a little bit too ambitious, but just from watching this guy play like this, I think that a raise is okay sometimes. So I do bump it up to 90. Small blind's in the tank now. And then check raise it to 250. He actually flopped quads and we just ran into it. He actually flopped quads twice against me this session, but yeah, I think we could just fold that river. That one's a little bit silly. In this next hand, we built our stack up to about $600 after reloading, and just nothing really happened. I was just playing quite aggressively, but just, just getting given spots, like ace queen has a squeeze spot, take it down pre. Just been doing a lot of 3-betting with really good hands. But middle position raised to 11, low jack has called. Definitely 3-betting the ace king suited in the small blind, so I bump it up to 50. Middle position makes a call and low jack folds. Go to a flop of ace 10 6. Beautiful. I start with a small bet of 35 and my opponent makes the call. I could probably size up about half pot here, but it's all right. On to the turn, which is the 8 of clubs. It's not that concerning, so I keep on betting. I make it 120, trying to size up to get him all in by the river. Yeah, about 60% looks good. Yeah, 120 and he makes the call. So off to a river, hoping for no queen. It looks like he's probably got a hand like ace queen, ace jack, and we get a beautiful deuce of clubs blank on the river. Gonna go for it here. I jam all in. And now my opponent's quite far in the tank. He's saying, you 3-bet really quick, but you have been really aggressive lately. And eventually decides to fold ace queen. That is an insane fold for a 1-3 table. Well done. Yeah, that's insane. Did not get paid there. Heading into another interesting hand. We've got a cutoff raise to 15, and I flatted with pocket 2s on the button. This invites a small blind as well as the 2 limpers into the pot, so we're going 5 ways to another great flop. 8-6 deuce, we flop bottom set on a draw-heavy board. Even better news, small blind leads out for 1/3 pot. And the limper calls, and the other limper calls, cutoff folds, and now it's back on us. The pot's getting quite big. 2 of my opponents only have like a pot-sized bet behind, and under the gun's quite deep, but he can't have something too strong, so I'm just decided to jam it all in here. I go all in. Small blind calls, under the gun folds, under the gun +2 also folds. I table my hands, and small blind had the 8-6 suited. So looking to dodge an 8 or a 6. Turn is the 10 of spades, river, 3 of clubs, and we show our hand, and it is good. It's a new day, a new session over at Park Casino. We're looking at 2 limps, and I raise pocket queens up to $20. Only the original limper calls, so we are heads up to a flop of queen, jack 10, 2 diamonds. Pretty iffy flop for top set, but we still do have top set, so I bet small 15, and my opponent calls. Off to the turn, which is another 10. Amazing. Go with second nuts now, as well as this might actually boat up or create trips for my opponent. So he checks, and I want to target those portions of his range, so I go for a pot-sized bet. My opponent, however, is not afraid of my pot-sized bet and check raises me to $300. Okay, we're all in. My opponent quickly calls, and we're off to a river, which is the 4 of spades, and my opponent rolls over the 10-9. 10-9 is no good. Full house is going to take this one down. All right, we're gonna keep this roll going. We're looking at a button straddle. It's been 2 limps, and I bump Ace King off up to $30. Only one of the limpers calls, so we are heads up to a really nice flop of 4-4 deuce with 2 hearts. We do have the King of Hearts, as well as this is a board that's just gonna miss him. He's quite a tight player. He's not gonna be calling pretty much any fours except for Ace 4 suited. There's only 2 of those left, and maybe pocket twos, but I'm not that worried. So when he checks to me, start with a small bet of 25, and he makes the call. Off to the turn, which is the 10 of spades, and he checks it over to me once again. So over here, it's quite clear he's got a pocket pair. I'm imagining something between 5s and 7s, as I think he'd raise pocket 8s plus. So I think one more bet is going to do the trick, and I'm just going to give up on pretty much every river that's not a heart. So I go ahead and bet and size up to try and get some fold equity out of those pocket pairs. I bet 70, and my opponent makes the call. So I'm pretty much giving up here until the river comes down another 4. And this is just like, now we just can't have a 4. And I just really want to bluff here. I'm going to go for it with all my overpairs anyways. So even my 10x is just going to go for it here for value. And I think as low as pocket 8s can still jam for value versus this guy. So that's a huge amount of value hands. When he checks it to me, I do go ahead and stick it all in. My opponent's in the tank. He's thinking it over. But I forgot one thing. This is 1-3 and people don't fold full houses, and my opponent tosses in the call. Especially don't fold full houses when they limp call pocket 9s either. That one's not going our way. Yeah. It is the final day. We are sitting at 1-3 over here at Grand Villa waiting for the 2-5 to open, and I open up pocket 10s under the gun. We do get 3 callers, so we're 4 ways to a flop, which is amazing. 10-9-4. There's a couple straight draws, but no flush draws. So start with a small bet of 15. Middle position calls, and so does the cutoff. So we're 3 ways to the turn, which isn't great. It's the Jack of Spades. I could keep betting here, but the only hand that's really going to call me is Queen Jack that I beat. Right, King Queen got there. So did 8-7. And pocket 10s just block so much of their calling range. The only thing that I'm happy to get called by is Queen Jack here. Yeah, so with a hand like an overpair, I'd be much more inclined to bet, but with pocket 10 just blocking everything, I think a check and just see if my opponent wants to take a stab is better. So I check it. Middle position does stab for 35, cutoff folds. Bit of a small bet, but I'm just going to keep setting the trap. I don't think he's got much for this size, so I make the call. River's terrible, though. It is the 7 of spades. I check it over, and my opponent once again bets. It's not that big, but backdoor flush gets there. Any 8 is a straight. King Queen still beats me. And just garbage now, so I reluctantly let it go, and my opponent's nice enough to show me the 8-3 of hearts. Oh my god. How can you do anything but laugh at this? That is insane. Top set cracked by 2 undercards. This is how today's gonna go. Kicking things off the new 2-5 table with pocket queens. This is actually the second time we got pocket queens, and the pre-flop action is almost identical. In this hand, I open up to 15. Player 2 to my left makes it 50. And now the small blind cold calls, and when it gets back to me, I 4-bet to 175. Literally last orbit, I opened pocket queens to 50, or to 15. He 3-bet to 50. I 4-bet to 150, and he folded. So pretty much an identical hand. We're in the same positions. I got the same hand. Same person's 3-bet me, but there's a cold caller this time. So I raise my sizing up to 175. Middle position makes the call this time, as well as the cold caller. So not what you want to see with pocket queens. We go 3 ways to a flop, which is not great. It's ace 4, 4, 2 clubs. Checks to me. I think this is a check hand, 3-handed. I think range bet heads up, but 3-handed, I just don't really like a bet here. I think a check fold is better. But checking flop makes turns really hard to play as well. I don't know. I bet really small here. It doesn't have to be too big. SPR is almost 1, so I bet 110. Middle position fold, and small blind makes the call. Off to the turn, which is the 8 of clubs. There's just no sense in betting here. His range is going to be ace, king, jacks, 10s. I think that's it. Maybe some king, queen suited. Clubs or something. I don't know. So I just check it back. River is okay. It's another ace, so it makes it less likely he's got one. But when he bets $450 on this river, I don't think there's anything we can do here. Like, he cold called a 4-bet. I just don't think he's turning pocket jacks or lower into a bluff here. I just don't see it. So I make the fold, and we're on to the next hand. All right, so the table's gone quite a bit reggy, but middle position is just sat down, and I definitely want to play some hands in position with him. He's open up to 20, and I look down at 10-6 suited in the cutoff. I've already posted $7, so it's only another 15 to call. So do make a pretty loose call here. I don't really like it, but I do want to play with this player. So go heads up to a flop of Jack 10-6, instantly rewarded with bottom two. Now this player fires out for $75. I'm not going to raise against that sizing. This player does bet big when they have it, and almost never as a bluff. Not that I've seen. Although I wouldn't discount like King, Queen of clubs or 8-9 of clubs, something like that. But bottom two, I can't go anywhere just yet, and I make the call. Off to the turn, which is the 8 of clubs. Not really what I wanted to see. And now my opponent snap shoves for 5x pot. Well, this sucks. So here's my thinking for this. He doesn't play a flush this way. A flush isn't scared of getting outdrawn, and when I've seen him make these huge all-ins, it's because he's scared of getting outdrawn. So I completely eliminate flushes from his range here. Yeah, he just doesn't have a flush here. Thing is, I do have a lot of flushes, so I could just call flushes only, but I don't know. So I'm thinking about what hands he's doing this with. Ace-Jack with the Ace of clubs makes sense. Jack-10 suited makes sense. Aces, Kings, Queens all make sense as well as sets of Jacks, 10s, and 6s. So I just started counting like the combos in my head, see if I can beat enough of them to make this call. I do think he will overplay Aces, Kings, and Queens this way from time to time. Yeah, no, I just see him playing Aces, Kings, and Queens this way, so that's a lot of combos. And I'm blocking quite a few sets, as well as top two. There's really no other two pairs available that he bets flop with that big, right? He's not going to have Jack-8 or 10-8 that bet flop for overpot. It's tough. I take my time with this and eventually decide that I'm just ahead of too many hands, so I toss in the call, go to the river, which is not great. It's Ace of clubs. Didn't matter, though, as he did flop top two with the Jack-10 suited, and I get immediately punished for $1,000 by playing 10-6 suited. Ouch. All right, on to the next hand. We have Queen 10 of hearts, bumping up to $20 over a limp. We get one caller from the cutoff, and then button makes it 80. He's quite an aggressive player, and I think he plays full-time. I don't really know what hand is supposed to be defending out of position versus 3-bets. The price is kind of good. I do have a pretty decent hand. We're somewhat deep, so I make the call, which I don't even think is good. I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to fold this hand, but I just feel like I'm folding way too much to 3-bets in this game. I don't know. But we're off to a flop of Queen 6-5, 2 hearts. Nice. Check it over to him, and he starts off with a bet of half pot. Raising seems a little bit like an overplay, so I make the call. Off to a turn, which is the 5 of diamonds. Really bad card. Now my 2 pair outs are dead. Yeah, but I check it over to him, and he goes with a really small bet of 135. Yeah, we got a call here, so I make the call, and off to the river. It's all right. We make the flush, but pocket aces do get there. So I check it over to him, and he unfortunately checks it back. But at least that means we're going to win. I show my flush, and he had the black pocket kings. Yeah, I think I should just be folding more to 3-bets. Final hand of the episode. We're going to end things off with a bang. Under the gun has opened to 15 button calls, and I re-raised to 75 with pocket aces. Even better news, the under the gun player now 4-bets to 225. Button folds, and now it's back on me. We are about 200 big blinds deep, but I am going to have some bluffs here. Like, I am going to be jamming some ace-king here as a bluff. So when I have it, at some point, I am going to have to jam with it rather than trap. So I stick it in. My opponent doesn't think for too long and makes the call. Off to a flop, which is 7-4 deuce. Looks great. Turn, it's a 5 of spades. Nice. River, another 7. Looks amazing. I table, probably good. And it is. Me and this player, we just cooler each other back and forth. I set overset him, he set overset me. I won this aces versus whatever, and he also won another all-in pre-flop for like 2,000. So we're even now. Wrapping up episode 40 here. Really hope you guys enjoyed the hands more than I enjoyed losing all that money. But over onto the numbers, we played 3-1-3 sessions as well as 1-2-5 session. First one we were in for 600, out for 1,055 for a win of 455. Next session we're in for 600, out for 435. That's a loss of like 170-ish. Then in for 600, out for 281. That was like a half-hour session. That's a loss of 319. And finally played 2-5, where we're in for 2.3 thousand, out for 1515 for a loss of I think 1,200 something. No, 785. Yeah, 785. That is a total loss of $751 across the 4 sessions. That's going to bring the bankroll from 12,207 down to 11,388. Upswing's coming, guys. I'll see you all in the next video.